Welcome in another episode of Respect Coin. I am your host, Michael Bolling. We have so much to get to. Shout out to everyone who's listened, who's supported, subscribed, downloaded episodes, listened on the CHSN app. Whatever you've done, I appreciate you. We just came off of maybe the craziest week of football, maybe ever, when you consider there was 2 college football playoff games into wild card weekend, capped off with a Monday night football game, and people got smoked. So raise your hand if you got smoked, because wild card weekend did not go the way that a lot of bettors wanted it to go. And that's why we have so much to talk about. So let's get into a little rundown. We'll start, as we always do, with the good, the bad, and the ugly. We have a Bulls game tonight at the United Center, so we'll have a game preview. We have the divisional round, 4 games, 4 really pretty good games that we'll go through. I'll have a quick preview of the national championship game, and I say quick because if you know me well, you know this is not a favorable game for me to watch, but I'll get into that a little later. Packed show, lot to cover. Let's get right into it, and let's start with the good, the bad, and the ugly. So, I don't know if everyone has bet this, and if you are someone who listens to this podcast, I'm sure you've seen it. I don't know if you know what's going on, but DraftKings right now, I think, is running one of the best promotions in the history of mobile sports betting. There's a lot of hyperbole there, and I'm not talking about boosts. I'm not talking about anything like that. This is a straight up promo that just absolutely makes so much sense, and it's a lot of fun, and it's called the King of the End Zone promotion. I used to work with a lot of people when I was at BR that collaborated with the DraftKings team, which is a bunch of people who are really smart, really fun, and they got themselves one with this King of the End Zone promo. So if you don't know what it is, you place a bet on a touchdown score for the weekend or on that given day, and if your player or the player you bet on scores the longest touchdown, so in yardage, they score the longest touchdown, you split $2 million with whoever else bet it in bonus bets. There's a lot of strategy involved to these, but it really does come down to luck, and that luck paid off for anyone who bet Curtis Samuel last week. Like I said, wild card round smoked a lot of bettors, including myself. Not most of the people that we were traditionally used to seeing score did not score. They definitely didn't score first. I think if you parlayed the 3 first touchdown scores on Saturday, you would have won over $1 million on a $10 bet. I think it was Troy Franklin, De'Ami Brown, and who was the last one? The last one was Jahan Dotson. What a joke. But if you had that ticket, congrats to you. That's really fun. But back to this promo. So just to let you know about Curtis Samuel. Curtis Samuel scored, I think it was a 55-yard touchdown in the Bills game. And I think it was like 143 bettors had him in their King of the End Zone promo. And those bettors split, those bettors split $2 million, which came out to $13,400 in bonus bets. And there was a screenshot going around, or a screen record, some guy who did it, and he just had $1,000 bonus bet, $1,000 bonus bet. Like, what a dream. You get $13,000 lotto tickets. So this is an awesome promotion, right? Like, if you pick the right guy, you could potentially get a decent amount of money in bonus bets that you can flip, hopefully, into a retirement fund. That's just how I view it. Everyone has a different strategy. But what I didn't know is you can bet a parlay with up to 3 touchdown scores, and that qualifies for your King of the End Zone promotional bet. So get in the lab. Hit me up on social at Mike Alex Bolling on all platforms. Let me know who you think is going to score the longest touchdown. I'll probably tail. I think there's no real science to this except for some of the wide receivers that really catch big play touchdowns. I mean, I think someone I considered last week was a Rashad Bateman. We have a lot of firepower in this weekend's game. Jahmyr Gibbs, Amon-Ra St. Brown. There's so many to name. So check out the DK promo. It's called King of the End Zone. You have to opt in, obviously, and maybe you can win some retirement money after you get some free bets. So that's the good. The bad, stat corrections continue to ruin my life. Had a parlay with Jules and Kev on my team at CHSN, and we saw a rebound by Vooch, and then FanDuel paid out. It did cash. It did go green. I did screenshot it, and 30 minutes later, the stat corrections came in and took the money right out of my account. So brutal, brutal stuff when that happens. I know I'm not the only one that's happened to. If you have stories similar, I'd love to hear them because it really does stink. Like, it's not our fault that you've put the money in our account. And if you take it out of the account, then the books get mad and they zero out your balance or they lock your account. Like, don't tickle us about it. Either we won or we didn't. The stat person definitely put in 8 rebounds or it wouldn't have gone through. Should be some legislation about this. Somebody has to take a stand. I can hear the pain in my own voice, how upset I was. It was 19-1, a 19-1 parlay. What a mess. I'm still not over it, but I will move on for the sake of everybody's sanity and my own. The ugly. Oh my God. I can't even believe that I'm going to admit this to people who are listening to this podcast. And I know it's probably not a ton of people, but a lot of people that do know me well and respect picks that I make. I bet on simulator golf this week. The TGL is pretty fun. We watched the TGL because the LA Golf Club took on Jupiter Links Golf Club. And on Jupiter Links is none other than the greatest of all time, Tiger Woods, Max Homa, another very good golfer on the tour, Kevin Kisner. So that was the trio I put 50 of my hard-earned dollars on this week in simulator golf. And those three, Tiger Woods, Max Homa, Kevin Kisner, they looked like me and the homies at 5-iron golf after 4 buckets. Oh, my God. And I know that simulator golf isn't real golf. It's a really fun concept. I think it's something that golf can use to kind of grow the game. I like the interactivity about the TGL broadcast. My guy Roger Steele from The Shy was the MC. There's so much to like about the events. It's Tuesday night in prime time. I'm sure people have listened to this, watched it. I'm fairly certain that nobody that's listening to this bet on it, like me, like an idiot. I bet Jupiter Links at plus money to win. I think it was plus 125. And they lost the match 12-1. Now, it's kind of a funky format. You play triples, alternate shot for 9 holes. Then you play singles for 6 holes. All that to say, this was never close. From the beginning, it was a blowout. I was definitely on the wrong side. The best highlight for Jupiter Links was Kevin Kisner hitting the ball off of the flag from the bunker. I think it was probably like 6 yards away, not even. So when that's your highlight, you know it probably went very poorly for the Jupiter Links Golf Club, who I will never bet again. They are banned. And for myself, who actually placed a bet like an idiot on a Tuesday. So it's a fun watch. It's not very fun to bet. I basically had my finger on the button to call the number after I realized how quickly this bet was over. So that's my experience with TGL. If you like to dabble and you feel like you have an inside edge, I am open to it. Hit me up on social. Let me know. But I don't think I'm going to bet on that event ever again. It's probably a lie. I think I'll probably get back in. So that's the good, the bad, and the ugly, as we always do. Like I said, we have a lot to cover. So let's get into this Bulls game tonight at home. They are hosting the Hornets at the United Center. And you know what that means? LaMelo Ball versus Lonzo Ball. I don't think we're going to have enough time to have Jello perform tweaker at halftime, but I did get word from someone at the Bulls that it is a good idea. So I don't know if that is enough to actually get it done within a week, but that could be pretty dope. Let's get into the game. Hornets at the Bulls. Bulls are 4.5-point favorites after one of their worst losses of the year against the Hawks. That was the second leg of a back-to-back, all things considered. But the Hawks did not have Trae Young. They did not have DeAndre Hunter. They had a bunch of guys out. And what felt like, from my view, I was in the building, what felt like a G League roster kind of put it on the Bulls. So there's definitely a lot of things to correct and some soul searching going on in that locker room. But as it stands right now on DraftKings, the Bulls are -4.5. The over-under is set at 235, which is the second highest total on the board. You know what that means to me. Vegas is projecting a lot of points. There should be a lot of opportunities to cash some bets. So let's dig into the splits. 79% of the money, the Sharps, are on the Bulls -4.5. I believe, when I saw this, I was kind of surprised, but I believe that the smart bettors are thinking the Bulls will bounce back after one of their worst losses of the season. Those things happen quite frequently in the NBA. You can get a random blowout at any time. I don't know if anyone was watching hoops last night, but the Cavs and the Thunder are two of the best teams, two of the best records in the league. They matched up last night in OKC, and I think OKC got up to probably about a 40-point lead before the reserves played the entire fourth quarter, and then it got a little closer after that. So the National Blowout Association was in full effect last night, and I can kind of see a way where these results could carry into tonight's games. But Bulls played the second of a back-to-back against the Hawks, worst loss of the season. So I think people in Vegas, the bettors in the desert, are thinking we're going to see a bounce back at home. Last game of the homestand for the Bulls tonight. 69% of the public is on the Bulls spread, so the Sharps and the pros and the Joes are aligned on this one. The pick is the Bulls. 59% of the money is on over 235, and 53% of the public is on under 235. What this tells me is smart bettors know these teams don't very much play defense, but on, I think, the last game they played, these teams combined for the most 3-point attempts missed in a game. So if we have another one of those, it's probably going under. I think that's probably what the public remembers. But the Sharps are more tapped in on the analytics and the data, and I'm kind of going to side with the Sharps on this one. It doesn't feel like, there's any reason to take the under. This is a game that could easily go way over this number. This number has been crushed by both of these teams on many occasions this season. Don't think too hard about this. Don't try and outsmart Vegas. This number is high for a reason. And there is some firepower in this game. Zach LaVine has been on an awesome stretch scoring. LaMelo Ball is back, and you know what he can do. So my lean here is to take the over. I do think this is going to be a show of sorts tonight. I think there's going to be a lot of energy in the building. So hopefully we see a lot of points, and that leads to us cashing a lot of bets. I usually don't pick sides on this pod, but this is definitely a fork in the road for this Bulls team. I think they bounce back. Do I trust them to cover 5 points? Not really. So if I were going to bet a side in this one, I would take the Bulls at -180. That's the money line for them to just win outright. When you have high totals like this, it could suggest that these teams will play each other pretty close and drive the score up, and you have a close win at the end. 5 points, I'm not that comfortable. For 4.5, I'm not that comfortable laying with this Bulls team that you never know what you're going to get when they tip the ball off. So if I'm putting anything in a parlay from this game, I would probably put Bulls money line. And my lean is that the game will go over. So I got a couple bets that I want to share for tonight's Bulls game, and then I'll move on to some NFL. First thing for Bulls Nets, if you haven't tapped in and you are not aware, Josh Giddey plays some of his best basketball for some reason in his career against the Hornets. And I'll pull up some of the numbers to support this. Last game that Josh Giddey played against the Hornets, it was December 30th. He played 30 minutes, 13 points, 12 rebounds, 6 assists, stuffing the stat sheet. We love to see it. 12-13, Bulls Hornets, 29 minutes, 17 points, 9 boards, 7 assists, stuffing the stat sheet. We love to see it. And back to his time at OKC, he had a 20-13-13 game. He had a 31-10-9 game, 21-10-3, 21-9-3. He loves playing against the Hornets for some reason. I think tonight will be no different. So my straight bet for tonight is to take Josh Giddey over 14.5 rebounds and assists. It's minus 130 on FanDuel. Very simple, very easy. I think Josh Giddey will be around. Plenty of action tonight in this game. And even though he doesn't close out many games when the team is at full strength, I do think he's going to make a big impact tonight against the Hornets. So Josh Giddey over 14.5 rebounds plus assists. It's in player combos on FanDuel, minus 130. Lock it in. Second, and finally, I do have a same game parlay for tonight's Bulls Hornets game, and it's a 3-legger. It's not going to shock you. You've seen these plays before, but one thing that might surprise you is one player that I've included in this bet. So let me get into it. First, Vooch, 10 rebounds. Second, Kobe White to have 15-plus points. Third, Zach LaVine to drop 4 dimes. It's plus 153 on FanDuel, and let me explain why. Vooch made a public comment about how he wasn't hitting the glass enough, how he needs to get back on his rebounding grind. He didn't want to see his average dip below 10 rebounds this season, and he made that impact known in short minutes against the Hawks. He's definitely been rebounding better over the last few games. So 10 rebounds in a game with this many points projected feels like a good bet. There will be tons of misses. Like I mentioned earlier, these two teams combined for the most missed threes in a game. It was a historic number. It was ridiculous. So I like the Vooch bet. Kobe, I'm going to go through this quickly because a lot of people who know me well know my internal struggle with betting Kobe White, but this spot is impossible to look away from. Kobe White gives you volume. You have to figure after 2 really poor shooting nights, he does bounce back. I'm giving him the benefit of the doubt. He should get 15 pretty easy. He does make a lot of straight line drives to the rim. He does get to the free throw line a little bit, and obviously a pretty solid shooter from behind the arc. So 15 points shouldn't be that tough in a game with this many points projected. And because of that, I like Zach to dish out 4 assists. He's been much more of a playmaker recently, even with the stretch of 30-point games he's had that came to an end recently. The guy has been playing elite basketball for a team that's not very good, maybe exceeding expectations a little bit. I know their over-under total was 28.5. I think they already have 18 wins. So these are the 3 legs. Vooch to grab 10 boards. He's been hitting the glass hard and doesn't want to see that rebounding average go under 10 again this season. We got Kobe White to score 15 points. He's due for a bounce back. 2 pretty brutal shooting nights for Kobe. 15 points should be extremely doable against this team. And with the total being 235, should be tons of buckets in this game, which leads to the last play. Zach LaVine, 4 assists. He's cashed this in a bunch of games in a row. He's been playmaking as much as he can. He's been on a hot stretch. Those 3 plays plus 153 on FanDuel, a little plus money SGP to have some fun tonight with Bulls Hornets. So hopefully we can cash and use some of the money we win to lead us in to NFL Divisional Weekend. I personally think this is the best weekend to bet. You know, you separate kind of the wild card teams, frauds. They're kind of out. You know, I was very excited to bet against the Vikings after that Week 18 game against the Lions. I knew Sam Darnold wasn't it. You know, I think you kind of learn after a handful of years and a handful of teams who these quarterbacks are. They had a really good year against a pretty weak schedule outside of the division. So let's get into divisional weekend. We got 4 games, and I'm going to go through each one of them quickly, one by one. We'll start with Texans-Chiefs. That's the first game on Saturday. The Chiefs haven't played a football game since Christmas. Well, the starters haven't played a full game since Christmas Day, and that's crazy to think about because that's almost a full month ago. The Chiefs are 8.5-point favorites at home against the Texans. 54% of the smart money is on the Chiefs, which is interesting. 8.5-point spread in a playoff game in the divisional round is kind of rare, but the Chiefs have been one of the better teams in the NFL all season. A lot of people talking about they've been lucky. They have gotten a lot of good bounces. I think preparation is, or luck is when preparation meets opportunity. And they've won 2 Super Bowls in a row. They're definitely doing something right. They've probably gotten much healthier over the last month with the starters not playing. You can talk rest versus rust. Texans looked awful in that first half against who did they play? The Chargers. But the Chargers, if Justin Herbert throws 4 picks, you're probably not going to win that game. So my lean in this one with the over-under set at 41.5, 66% of the sharp money is on the over. I'm definitely leaning Chiefs here. I also think these 2 defenses are pretty solid, so my lean would be against the sharps. Maybe take a look at the under 41.5 points. It's not a ton of points, but these playoff games they get tighter and tighter as we go through the playoff run. So my leans here, Chiefs, and then I lean the under. I will have some picks and anytime TD props at the end of this. Night game on Saturday, Commanders at the Lions. The Lions, another one of those teams who have just dominated all season long. Dan Campbell's got those boys playing hard. They've had some extra time to rest. They did play the starters in Week 18, which I thought was interesting, but they wanted to win the division, and that just shows how awesome of a coach and how awesome that locker room is because all the guys were bought in. They were able to avoid some injury, anything like that. So they're looking like they're pretty close to full strength, and David Montgomery is back for the Lions. He practiced in full this week. The Commanders had an impressive win over the Bucs. I thought the Bucs would take care of business in that one, but Jaden Daniels was really good and really especially good in that fourth quarter. Let's get into the splits. Like I said, Detroit 8.5-point favorites. 68% of the smart money is on the Lions. There's no shocker there. But I will note the spread in terms of public bets is split 50-50. Here's why I would avoid taking the 8.5 points with the Commanders. Usually when like a rookie quarterback or a quarterback that comes out of nowhere gets a win, one of the ones that I can think of is like the Broncos when they had Tim Tebow and they beat the Steelers, I think it was, on that one long pass to Demaryius Thomas. Like a bunch of people hammered the Broncos the next week and they got destroyed. So just warning people, just because Jaden Daniels has arrived and he's played well, it's kind of like the CJ Stroud effect last year. How'd that go for them after they beat the Browns? So be careful if you're taking the Commanders just because you're seeing 8.5 points. It feels sort of like a trap to me. I think this spread could be closer to 10, especially when you consider how hard it is to win at Ford Field. Jaden Daniels has been great, but this Lions team is on a mission. They got as close as the NFC Championship last year with a lead and blew it to that 49ers team. So they're hungry. They're motivated. They probably have the best motivator in the game when you talk about Dan Campbell. I'm leaving this one alone, but my lean is to take the Lions to cover at home. And then let's move to Sunday. I think these 2 games are going to be fascinating. The Rams are 6-point underdogs against the Eagles in Philly, and the splits are kind of interesting to me. When you talk about a 6-point spread at home, the Eagles have, or 62% of the money is on the Eagles to cover at home, but 51% of bettors in the public are taking the Rams +6. The reason why +6 is interesting to me is it feels like these two teams have played different brands of football. The Eagles love to run it. They have Saquon Barkley, who should get MVP votes. And the Rams have a good running back in Kyren Williams, but their short passing game is pretty lethal when you talk about how good Puka Nacua has been. The Rams got Tyler Higbee back briefly last week. Not sure if he's going to play this week. But one of the things that worries me about the Rams is I can't believe they haven't been able to get Cooper Kupp involved. And they're going to need to put together long drives. Otherwise, Philly's just going to run the air out of the ball. And that's not a good place for the Rams to be. So the over-under is set 43.5 for this game. I do see that 54% of the money and 61% of the public are on the over. This feels more like a Big Ten football game to me, despite all the firepower on both sides. Again, the Eagles love to run the ball. That is their strength. They shouldn't, steer away from that. It's gotten them to this point. And I think they have a unique opportunity with Jalen Hurts getting more healthy to really flex their muscles in the run game. That offensive line is awesome. But the defensive line for the Rams and the secondary that the Rams have trotted out has been really, really solid. Sean McVay, bar none, one of the best coaches in the NFL. If you're asking me whether or not I trust Sean McVay more than Nick Sirianni, you don't even need to ask it because Sean McVay, again, one of the best coaches in the NFL. So my personal lean is to take the Rams. I'm not a big fan of Philly, but I do respect that Philly is very good and very good at home. So my lean would be to take the +6 with the Rams. And finally, the biggest game for me this weekend in terms of future bets is probably the biggest game of the season. You can call whoever you want and ask who wins MVP this year. It's going to be one of these two quarterbacks between Lamar Jackson and Josh Allen, and the Ravens take on the Bills. Last game of the weekend on Sunday night. Right now, the Ravens are 1.5-point favorites on the road, which is interesting. They did not open that way. This opened with Bills favored in the game, and it swung. So 53% of the money, no surprise, is on the Ravens, but 54% of the public is taking the Bills and the points as a home underdog. 51.5 points for the over-under. I think that total is very much right where it needs to be. 54% of smart money is on the over. I do think this is going to be a back-and-forth game. These offenses are just too good. These defenses have been okay, but I do think this is going to be the first team to score 27, 28 points is probably going to win this game. And I hope, just as a bettor, there is a little bit of a back and forth. Some of the games last week were very sleepy. We knew the result after like the first 10 minutes of the first quarter. That's never fun. That's never entertaining. We're back in a position where these divisional games can bring you some juice, and I do think we're going to get that in Ravens-Bills. So just to reset my futures conundrum, I have the Ravens at 244 to 1 or 241 to 1 to win the Super Bowl, $5 to win 1,200. Bet that back in August. So I can't stress this enough. I need the Ravens to win on the road against the Bills to keep this parlay alive, to keep my future bet alive. So I want the Ravens to win. My lean is to take the over because I do think there's going to be a lot of points scored in this game. So just to run through quickly, I like the Chiefs, I like the Lions, I like the Rams, and obviously need the Ravens on Sunday night in the divisional round. All right, so some bets for this weekend that I've locked in. You've heard me bet teasers on this show before. This feels like a perfect week to execute the 6-point teaser, and let me explain why. I lean Chiefs. I mentioned that earlier. I lean Lions. I mentioned that earlier as well. Two teams that I think are potentially on a collision course, could be the Super Bowl matchup. These two teams have been very good all season. They're coached very well. They've had some rest. I think that they're going to make a major stand in these games. But when we're talking about a teaser, you're talking about key numbers. When you see both of them at 8.5, You need to win by 9. I'm using this teaser piece and starting it off with these two teams to get them under a field goal win in case these games are a little closer than we think. So you get Chiefs at -2.5, Lions at -2.5, and then we roll into Sunday. I said my lean is the Rams. The Rams lean definitely has an effect on me betting this teaser. You can get the Rams at +12.5, so you get a 10-point cushion. You talk about key numbers. I think this game's going to be closer than a lot of people think, because of the way the Eagles run the ball. They're going to try and manage the clock. The Rams can put together really long drives as well with their short passing game. I don't think this is going to be a blowout. I'm fingers crossed that it's not. So give me the Rams +12.5. The only zag here is that if you're going to give me this 6-point teaser, I'm going to take the Bills +7.5. I think this game's going to be close. I don't think we're going to see a blowout in this one either. I need the Ravens to win the game. So maybe we can middle this when you're talking about the futures parlay I have. Bills +7.5. I don't see them losing by more than a touchdown at home. If I'm wrong, fine. The teaser blows up, but I still have stake on the Ravens to win the Super Bowl. So quickly to recap, 6-point teaser for divisional round coverage. Chiefs -2.5, Lions -2.5, Rams +12.5, and Bills +7.5 is +240 on FanDuel. You get almost 3-1. Call it whatever you want. +240 on FanDuel. $100 wins you $240 if you take that 6-point teaser that I just described. I think it's pretty locky. Because I just said that, obviously now that means it's never going to hit and it might just reverse split. But I like it. The Chiefs to win by a touchdown, the Chiefs to win by a field goal, Lions to win by a field goal, Rams to not get blown out, and the Bills to keep it close enough in a touchdown window feels like a fun bet to cover all weekend. Finally, for NFL, I have an anytime touchdown parlay. And this is more like a lotto ticket. So if you're not into betting touchdown parlays, please do not start now. And let's get into it. So first, in the Texans-Chiefs game, I like Xavier Worthy to score. He's been the number one target for Mahomes lately, and he can be used in so many different ways. You can throw, flat routes to him. You can throw go routes to him. You can hand him off in jet sweeps. You can do so much with him as a talent. I bet a lot on Travis Kelce this year, and he just has not been as productive when it comes to scoring touchdowns. Obviously, he's no surprise to anyone because he's been doing it for so long with Mahomes. So I'm not going to take Kelce. I'm going to take Xavier Worthy. I think that they probably scheme up some packages to get him in the end zone. For Commanders Lions, I really like Amon-Ra St. Brown to score a touchdown. He is going to be able to kind of match up with Marshawn Lattimore, who definitely got cooked by Mike Evans last week. I know they had some personal stuff going on, but when you talk about route running and getting, their playmakers involved when it comes to Jared Goff and the Lions, Amon-Ra St. Brown, definitely the number one target. I think he sees a lot of targets in this game, and he's going to be hard to contain in the red zone with that route running. So we got 2 legs so far, Xavier Worthy, Amon-Ra St. Brown. For the Sunday games, I'm sure everyone that watched just like I did saw A.J. Brown reading a book. I think he only had a handful of targets, maybe 2 or 3 targets. He had 1 catch. I think that changes this week. He is a matchup nightmare for secondaries that are smaller. I do like the Rams secondary, but they're not very big. They are physical. He's going to be someone in the red zone, I think, that Jalen Hurts will target. So give me A.J. Brown to score as part of this parlay. And then finally, no shocker here, Derrick Henry to get in the box against the Bills. Those 4 players to score: Xavier Worthy, Amon-Ra St. Brown, A.J. Brown, Derrick Henry is 18-1 plus 1869 on DraftKings. I've locked that in. I like those 4 guys to score for obvious reasons. Xavier Worthy, one of the most electric players on the Chiefs and recently been the number 1 target for Mahomes. Amon-Ra St. Brown, easily the number 1 target for Jared Goff. Route running is on 100. He's very good. I think he finds the end zone. A.J. Brown, no time to read books this week. I think it's time to get him some more targets. I think they get him a TD. Derrick Henry, the king is the king. He scored a bunch of times in a row now. I think he's on a 5-game touchdown streak, and he scored a bunch against the Bills in his career. Those 4 touchdown scores plus 1869 on DraftKings. That is the touchdown parlay for divisional weekend. All right, we've covered a lot. One more thing to talk about before we get through the full weekend. We've got a lot of football up to Sunday. We will have the college football national championship on Monday night. In full disclosure, my nightmare as a Michigan fan has come true. 1 year removed from winning the national championship because I cannot stand Notre Dame and I hate Ohio State. So no, I will not be watching this game at all. I don't have much to preview. I will tell you the splits. Notre Dame is now down to 8.5, or Ohio State is now down to 8.5 point favorites. I think it opened close to 10. Money's coming in on Notre Dame. It's public money. 52% of bets are on that 8.5 point spread in favor of Notre Dame. But the sharps are on Ohio State at 56%. It is what it is. Over-under is set at 46.5. 75% of smart money is on the under. So if you think this is going to be a shootout, it might not be. The public thinks it's going to be a shootout. 64% of bets on the over. That's really it. That's really all I got. I swear I'm not watching this game at all. I have to work. I will be at the United Center covering the Blackhawks game, and I will be very happy to be watching hockey because I don't care who wins this game at all. Gun to my head, I guess I'll take Notre Dame, but I'm not watching. I don't care what happens. What I can leave for you before we get out of here is the homie Maria at work was thinking, hey, why don't we bet a Jeremiah touchdown parlay? And I love it. One of the best bets I heard all week. She gave it to me a week before the game. So shout out to Maria. We will be locking in Jeremiah Smith from Ohio State, Jeremiah Love from Notre Dame, anytime touchdown parlay, just 2 legs, plus 297, almost 3-1 odds. You got to love it. Hopefully I'll wake up in the morning and just see a little more money in my account because, again, I cannot stress this enough. I will not watch 1 second of this national championship game. And that's that. Because I don't care who wins. I don't care who wins. If they could tie and no one gets it, that's what I'd prefer. So we've covered a lot, spent a lot of time. I'm really pumped for this weekend. A lot of bets to make, a lot of bets to win. Let me rifle through what we gave out again one more time. So straight bet for Bulls Hornets. That's tonight. Josh Giddey over 14.5 rebounds plus assists, minus 130 on FanDuel. Same game parlay. Vooch to score 10 points, or Vooch to have 10 boards. Kobe to score 15 points. Levine to have 4 assists plus 153 on FanDuel. We have a 4-leg, 6-point teaser. Chiefs minus 2.5. Lions minus 2.5. Rams plus 12.5. Bills plus 7.5. That's plus 240 on FanDuel. And an anytime touchdown parlay, 4 legs. Xavier Worthy, Amon-Ra St. Brown, A.J. Brown, Derrick Henry, plus 1869 on DraftKings. Finally, for Monday, Jeremiah Smith, Jeremiah Love, 2-leg anytime touchdown parlay, plus 297 on FanDuel. Again, we've covered a lot. Appreciate anyone and everyone who's listening, supporting on podcasts, on CHSN website, on social. I appreciate you. I feel the love. Definitely. Whatever you do, don't forget, this is a weekend where you need to bet the king of the end zone promotion on DraftKings. It's too much fun not to bet. You can parlay up to 3 players. If that player scores the longest touchdown, you will get to split $2 million in free bets with anyone else who has made that bet. I forgot to mention the stat correctors are the people who do not respect coin. If you're going to give us the money, leave it in the account. Don't change it after 30 minutes when the game is over, because that looks so fishy. It just looks so fishy. So I didn't talk about the respect, who doesn't respect coin. Those people who don't respect coin are the stat correctors. Go away. Please go away. And with that, I'm going to sign off. Again, thank you for listening. Thank you for subscribing. All of that. Call your moms. Call your dads. Always, always respect coin. And we'll be back next week, hopefully with a lot more money in our pockets.